What's up, ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? It's Dan here from Cryonoir, and I thought today we would do a Unity tutorial. This is off the back of my previous episode of my game making journey. There was a comment on there from one of my subs asking me how we did the particle system in that game. So I thought, well, I might as well do a tutorial, and I think I'm going to push it a little bit further as well, and I'm also going to show you how to get it interacting with objects within the environment. Let's get on with it. Basically, I've opened up a project, and I've imported into it the standard asset pack, because I think you'll probably need that for doing some of it. I've also imported a free material, well, not free material, sorry, a free asset called the Star Sparrow. And if you go to the asset store and you search for Star Sparrow, or I think if you search for sort of free spaceship or something like that. Let's just have a look. Star Sparrow. Star Sparrow. There we go. That's the one you want. So if you just get that one and download that, that's the ship that I've used. It's a free ship that anyone can get. And I've also used all free skyboxes. So let's just have a look. You again just type Skybox into the asset store and you'll be able to get those yourself. Which one was it? I think it was it Tropical Sky, or I don't know. I can't remember which one it was. Hang on, it's probably, if you go pricing and go free, that'll narrow it down a little bit. There we go. So it might have been that one. Let's have a look. Might have been that one. I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, it's downloaded as All Sky Free. Oh, there it is, All Sky Free. So that's the one I used. There we go. So yeah, it's a free skybox, and it's got some pretty cool looking skyboxes in there. This being one of them. So that looks pretty cool. And again, I'm not going to go into that because that isn't. These are just the things that I've had to import to get it looking as it is now. Oh yeah, that's why you needed the free asset pack, because we need these little houses. But you don't have to use houses. Again, this is, as I said, just more to do with the particle system. So I've built this pretty jank-looking terrain. I believe it is. Let's have a look. How big is it? I think it's about 1,000 by 1,000. Is it? Let's have a look. Terrain. If we go to here, that'll show us. Where are we? Yeah, it's about 1,000 by 1,000. And again, I'm not going to teach you how to do terrains. There are thousands of tutorials on there that are significantly better than I am at doing terrains. And again, this was just a rush thing just to show you the actual the thing that we've built in action. And I also, as I say, I've imported the Sky Sparrow. So where have I put that? And there he is. So the Sky Sparrow's there. And what I've done is I've also set up some basic movement on the Sky Sparrow, so he will now fly and the camera will rotate and move with him. This again is not really ideal for doing what you would... there we go. This is just a sort of a basic thing, so we can get this in place, get it working, and I can show you all working and going. Now, to get the controls for doing that, I actually did it wasn't so much a tutorial. It was basically I went over to a channel called what was it called? Game Cadeau, and it's Chris DeLeon. Chris DeLeon. He's a significantly better programmer than I am, and he'd actually done a video, which I'll put a link in the description below, for setting up just sort of prototyping some sort of flight sim. And I just grabbed the first part of that. It's not even the entire thing. I literally just grabbed the things he'd got for the rotation and for the movement, and that's all it is. And I think I also included the speed up. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping, just so that you can get to where I am. If you want to. If you've already got your own game, then by all means, you can use that in this. These are all fairly standard sort of things that you would do for lots of different games. So with that, let's move on and actually get to work. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create where are we? He says confidently, not knowing what he's doing. I'm looking for particle system. Where is it? Is it in lights? New camera, where is it? Object, effects, there we go. God, it would help if I actually looked. And there we go. So that starts spawning this. Oh, where are we? Well, let's just have a look. So you can see that kind of floating away in the off into the distance. So I'm just going to take that actually out of the away from the ship, so it is just on its own, and we can hide it and bring it back in. There we go. Right. Right, and we can press play there, and then that gets that going. Right. So the way I set this up on the other one. So that way it looks like these are kind of bullets, but not necessarily, you know, totally accurate bullets. But to make them look like bullets, the first thing I did is I went through and we went to duration, and I changed that to 0.20, and then we leave looping on. Oh, sorry, we don't want that. We leave looping on. We leave that at 5 and 500 lifetime and lifetime decay. That's how long. They're not going to get a chance to decay, because by the time, you know, they've gone, by the time that's passed, they'll be so far out in the distance they'll no longer be being drawn anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. We're going to set the start speed to 500, so you can see that way they set off at great speed. So that's what that does. And then we are going to scroll down. We're going to alter the color of them so that I think, what color will we go with? Green, maybe? I don't know. We don't normally see green bullets, do we? Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe they'll look terrible. All right, we'll just go with yellow. We'll go with yellow bullets. That's fine. We'll just stick with yellow. So there. So you can change that there. Just change the color. We're going to change the simulation space to world. And then we are going to go... let's have a look. Simulation speed 1 is fine. Social logo, play on awake is fine. Rigid body 1000. So that's all you need to do in that first thing, and that basically sets them firing off at a great speed into the distance. So next thing we need is the emission tab. So we're going to the emission, and we're going to change this rate over time. I found about 20 seems to work pretty well. So that's the number it will fire with any given second of the game, of sort of time.delta time. So I reckon 20 generally looks okay. So for the shape, now this is the shape, as you can see, this shows you the projection of in which they are going into. So we are just going to change this. We're going to leave it in cone, that's fine. We're going to set the angle to 0. And as you can see, that immediately brings them much closer in, as much more like bullets. We're setting the radius to 0.00001. So really teeny tiny. And already you can start to see that they're now starting to look a little bit more like bullets. Radius thickness is fine. That's fine. Roundabout spread 0. Yeah, that's fine. Base, and I think that's all we need to do actually for that section. And so then next we need to go down to renderer, and I think the renderer is all okay as well. Let's have a look, renderers. So yeah, so we need to change what we're actually firing. So as it is at the minute, they're kind of like little hazy type things, like, you know, little hazy particles. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this. So we're going to go to the default particle. No, we're not. Okay, sorry. Let's go back to here. Right, and we're going to go to rendering. I think if you click, is it there? We can grab a different one. I'll try and remember how I did this now. I have checked this. I have actually practiced this before. Okay, so maybe it was in here. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. I know you had to change it. So you click there. And I've actually got, there's a thing on here called Sprite Default. Now I have a distinct feeling this came in with the standard asset pack. You can see there it's currently on default particle, which is that there. And we just want Sprite's default. And then that creates the squares to make them look like bullets. And I think we're going to shrink them a little bit. So let's just try and make these a little bit smaller. I can't remember where it was I changed them now. I did change them earlier last time when I actually checked this. I actually did do that. And start size, is it that? There we go. That's where we make it smaller. Sorry. Alright, so yeah, I think we'll just drop that down to about, we're on about there. That looks okay. So that gets our first particle effect working. And that's starting to look a little bit like a potential machine gun fire. So I think what we're going to do now is we take this particle system and we're going to rename that. I'm going to rename it to gun 1. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to child that to the play ship. Boop. So now, as soon as you start playing, you'll see that that is with the play ship and it rotates where the player rotates and does all of that. But it's coming out of the front. I know it looks as though it's firing off upwards, but believe me, it isn't. That's just the angle of the the camera, the way it's looking at it. It is actually just firing straight out. Or at least it should be anyway. Let's just double check that, but it should just be firing straight out. So if we just press play, yeah, you can see it's going straight out in a straight line. So that's just the angle that the camera's looking at it. It is firing directly out. So what we're going to do now is we're now going to try and place this particle system in the correct place for the ship. So if we just look straight on at the ship, and I think if we go sort of around about there, that's roughly where one of the guns is, isn't it? Yeah, about there, something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that. So to do that, we've got it called, and we've got to press Control D, and then we just drag that across to here, and you'll see actually in the list there we've got gun 1.1. So we're just going to rename that to gun 2. There we go. And with that we should then have 2 particle systems, and there we go. So that's how we actually set those up and get them working, so that we've now got cannon fire. You can play around with the different settings there about, you know, whether you want it to come out faster or whether you're happy at the speed that I've got them at. But you know, I sort of seem to think that works quite nicely. It looks okay, and you can see them scattering off into the distance. And yeah, you can do this for like, I'm not particularly good at flight simulators, particularly when I'm using the keyboard. But anyway, so there we go. So that's that sorted. So that's the initial particle system for that. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're now going to set up the an explosion particle, which we're going to use later on. So next up we're going to, so we'll just close that down, and then we're going to create a new particle system. And where are we? Create effects, particle system, and we're going to tag this and call it explosion. So as you can tell, that's not really an explosion. So let's again work our way through this. We're going to keep that on 50. We don't want this to loop. It literally just needs to come on once. And let's have a look. Right, so we want start lifetime. We need to drop that down to 0.2. Now these values, let's have a look. Start speed. What we can do is we can play with this, and we can create this random between 2 constants. So basically what that will do is some of the particles will explode and will travel out at 0.5, and then some will travel out at 5. And that gives us basically, I don't know, there you go. So we're starting there. Let's just get that. Right, so that gets that played. Like, I played around with this a lot back when I first did this. So let's have a look. What else have we got? So let's try and start on a lifetime, start speed. Start color, right, okay. So with this, I think we are just going to go, I think we'll go with a red color. Okay. And gravity modifier off, we're going to go with world. Simulation speed 1, scaled, local, that's all fine. Rigid body. There we go. Right, so that covers all of that. We're now on to, or is it the emission? We want rate over time. I've got a note here about 250. I seem to think worked quite well. And rate over distance, I think I think about 1.65. So again, these are parameters that you can play around with. Now, if you look at this, there we go. That's starting to look a little bit like a fire. So you know, boom, right. Okay, so that sort of seems to be quite good. That's working quite nicely. See what start speed. Our start speed 0.5 to 100 there. Sorry. Right, there we go. That makes more sense. That should. So that's start speed. And then start size. Again, I've got this on a difference between two curves. So I've got that set to 0.5. And I've got that at 5. There we go. I thought it was looking a bit odd. Right, there we are. So this will now, boom. There we go. Crikey Moses. That looks a bit more like an explosion. Kaboom! There we go. Right. Now, where are we? So let's go down. So we've got shape. We've got that. I think I'll bring that rate distance. There we go. Down to about 1.35. There we go. Right. Shape. So we've currently got it as a cone, and what we want that to be is a sphere. So now when we go bang, that'll explode. It'll explode like an explodey thing. Kaboom! I think maybe that needs to be sort of a yellowy colour. Bang. Maybe about there. That looks a bit more like a thing. There we go. Right. So we're going to set that as the explosion, and then where are we? See, I've got the radius as quite small. So let's have a look. What does that look like? Bang. Okay, right. Thickness, okay. 2D texture alpha. Clip thread, yeah, that's all the same. We go to renderer, billboard, and again, I think we're going to change this over to the default sprite there. I think I've got everything else all okay on here. I think I'm going to make it a little more violent and a little sharper, I think. Oh, there we go. That looks a little bit better. Kaboom. But I think we need to. I definitely think we need to shorten this. Yeah, duration. There we go. All right, that's too long. It should be about 0.5. So that 0.5. So that should just go kapow. Boom. There we go. That's kind of a bit of an explosion. So let's just have a look. Okay. So let's just have a look, see what else we can alter on this. I think we need to change the size of those actual particles. I think they're a little big. So I think we change that to maybe 1. There we go. That sort of looks a little bit better. That looks right. And where are we? I think we need more. I think it needs to be more. So more like about 300. Let's try that. Bang. There we go. Bang. All right. That's fine. Now, I think if we bring that down to one of these buildings, because this is what we're going to be exploding, we just want to try and get an idea of scale. Right. Let's get that down. Sorry if you can hear talking in the background, that's my wife just fanning around on the phone as she does. Let's have a look. There we go. Right. So let's just play that. Boom. So if we hit that, I think that's going to be a bit small, isn't it? Bang. I think that's probably could do to be a little bit bigger. So let's create that radius. Where are we? Let's create a radius. I think that definitely needs to be a lot higher. So let's go like 400. There we go. Bang. Right, okay. And let's try and keep this in a little bit lower. Do we have that at 1 point? Railway distance. What if we do that? Boom. That's not going to make a huge difference because it's not moving, is it? So let's have a look. Simulation speed. I think we do need this a little bit bigger instead of 1. It looked quite big because of where it was, but I think now that we're there, we go. That looks a bit more in scale. It looks pretty. It looks a bit odd at the moment, but I mean, this is just a basic explosion. You can spend an awful long time because you can create like multi-layered explosions. So you could have like one of these going off, and then one that fired like other particles that came off in a cone. Oops, that's going to actually, is it? No, it probably did. But anyway, you can get some that'll fire off like sort of smoke into the air as well and other things like that. So this is just, like I say, just a basic one. So we now have the explosion we're going to use, and we now have the player lasers working. So now that they're both in position and they're both working, the next step is we're going to make sure we have control over it. So getting the weapons controllable from the player is fairly straightforward. First of all, we need to do a little bit of setup, and then we can get everything running. So first we go into the player controller script. Now, if you've built the controls for the ship itself, you can do everything in here. Or if you want to set up your own scripts for this sort of separate from here, you can do. But that's fine. This is just the way I'm doing it, because this is only a sort of a basic prototype. So the first thing we're going to do, if you would need to have imported the standard Unity assets. So what we're going to do is in here we're going to use a method which is the standard Unity assets controller. So we're just going to go using where are we? What's it called? Unity standard assets dot where is it? Cross-platform input. There we go. You see, that's how common it is to use this. Now, this is a really handy sort of little method here, which means you can port the game over to sort of any console or mobile or anything. There's all sorts of handy little things in that little in that script, so it's always a good one just to have in there, because you know, who knows what you might end up sort of pulling from it. But first of all, we need to set up just the firing, so you put that in there, and then that means that within the script now it's going to call from the cross-platform input. So we just need to set up a fire in that. So you go to edit, and then you go down to project settings and input, and in the project settings and input we've got all of these things here. And what we're going to do is we're going to change fire 1 to just fire, because that's all it's going to be. And on the positive button, we're just going to set that to space. So that means that fire 1, or whatever fire is, you know, whenever you use the term fire, it means you're pressing space. So that's a fairly quick and straightforward thing to set up. So we're going to go back to the ship. Now, what we need to do, we've got these two guns as an object in here, and we need to be able to turn them on and off, which is the idea. So first of all, I think what we need to do is we need to basically set up a kind of a control thing that's going to say, you know, if you're pushing the button, then press the fire. If you're not, then don't, if that makes sense. So, and we want this to happen all the time, so it's going to happen in update. So update is something that is called every frame. So we want it to check whether or not you're pushing the space button. Okay, so what we need is if where are we? Cross-platform manager, input manager, yeah, cross-platform input manager dot get button. So this is the button which we've just set up, and we are looking for fire. So if that button is being pressed, then what do we want to do? Well, we want to activate the guns, basically. So let's have set guns active. We'll call it that, active. So this is going to be a little script we're going to write in a second. It's going to say we're going to set the guns to active. So if you're pushing the button, set the guns to active, and we're going to say that that's true. That statement there is true. And then, but if you're not doing that, so else, and we're going to, where are we? Else set guns. Got to make sure I spell it the same each time. Active. We're going to say false. There we go. So basic coding knowledge here. So we're going to have to write a little script called set guns active, which tells it what to do here. And what we're going to do is say, so if you're pushing the button fire, set the guns to active, set that to true. And then if you're not, then they automatically need to be on. It needs to be off. So let's write this script for set guns active. We don't want this in the void update. This needs to be a separate. So let's have a private void set guns active. So hopefully that won't go crazy, and that is going to be a bool value, which a boolean is true or false. So we're going to have a bool, and we're going to call it is active. Boom. Right, okay. And we're going to do a little cool groovy thing in here called a for each. And have I spelled private wrong? P-R-I-V. Yes, I have. There we go. So there we go. Right, so you can now see that these are all happy here. So we're going to do a for each, which is going to take a little bit of setting up, because when I type this in, it's going to throw up loads of errors. So we're going to go for each. We're going to have this as a game object, because we are going to set up the particle system as a game object in a second. And they're all called gun. So for all a gun in guns. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up an array called guns, and for every item or gun that's within the array called guns, we're going to do something. Okay, and here's what we're going to do. Oops, we are not going to. Oh no, that was fine. I just want it to. Sorry, I'm old school. I like it when it goes down that. Right. So first of all, let's set up this array. And this is how we're going to do this. So up here at the top, you can see I've got a speed variable here, which was part of, again, setting up the control scheme for that. Don't pay too much attention to that. Go and watch the other guy's video that I mentioned at the beginning. The, what's his name? Game Cadeau. Go check out his, and he'll go through that. His goes into a lot more detail, puts like a spring arm actually on the camera, so it smooths it out and does all sort of crazy stuff. This was, I just grabbed the very beginning, sort of 5-10 minutes of it, just to get it moving, just because it makes it a little bit easier for you to see what's going on. So underneath the speed variable, we're going to have another serialized field. Now, for those of you that don't know, that are new to Unity, what serialized field does is it creates us a little tab here. You can see that we've got speed there. It's going to create us another one now in a minute, and that's going to be a field of game objects, not GOM objects, game objects, and it's going to be an array, which that's what that means, and we're going to call that guns. Are we not? Is that what I called it? Yeah, guns. So it's now going to create an array on here called guns, and it's going to be a game object array. So we're just going to save that for 2 seconds, because that will then make this, hopefully all being well, appear here any second when it compiles. And there we go. So that appears there. How many objects have we got? We've got 2 guns. So boop, 2 guns. And then press enter. So now it's got element 0 and element 1. We're just going to put each gun in one of these. Boop and boop. So there we go. So we now have an array. It's got 2 items in it, and they're both guns, and they're both the particle systems, which are childed to the player's ship. Okay, so that's got that working. So it now even knows what guns are. So for every gun in guns, what are we going to do? Okay, so this is a little trickier to explain so far. We're going to create a variable, which is going to be the emission module, I guess we'll call it. Right, have I spelled that? Yeah, we'll call that emission module. It doesn't really matter if it's spelled correctly, as long as I spell it correctly the next time. So, gun. So this is going to call gun, right? So what this is doing is we're setting up a variable, and it's saying, all right, what is this variable? Well, we are looking for the emission module here, emission module. That's what we're looking for, because that is what we're going to turn off each time. We're not going to turn the whole particle system off, because if you do that, what will happen is when you're firing and you take your finger off the fire, all the particles you fired will just die instantly. And we don't want that. We want the ones that already exist to continue on their way. So all we're going to do is turn off the emission to stop it firing any more particles. So that's what we're looking for. So we're just going to create a variable which could be called anything. It could be called Steve or whatever, but it just makes sense to call it the emission module. And we're going to go gun dot get component. So it's now going to ask, look within gun. Now all of these are guns, because we're actually in this array. So it's going to check in the array for everything that's in there that's called a gun or whatever, or that is a gun. and it's going to get the component, and we are looking for the particle system. So we need particle system. Or which part of the particle system are we looking for? We are looking for dot emission. There we go. There is only one, so I'm presuming that's right. So we're setting a variable that says right, called emission. There we go. I think we'll get rid of that one now and make it spell a little better. So variable emission, right? So look. So this variable emission, which we can do something with this, basically is a link to gun, get the component for the particle system of emission, the emission part of the particle system within gun. So we're now going to say in here emission module dot enable equals is active, which I believe is a Unity. Yeah, it's a Unity thing, so that turns it on and off. So all being well, this should work fine. You need to set this little void outside of your update, because this is just its own little script, its own little program that it's going to run, but it's not running it every frame. It's only running it when fire calls it. So basically what we're doing is saying, right, okay, if somebody's pressing down the fire, set the guns to active. It's true. If it's not, set it to false. So this is the script, set guns to active. It's a boolean, so it's either true or false, which is these, so it's either on or if it's off, and those basically equate to is active. And we're saying, for instance, for each instance of a game object gun in the array guns. So this is our array of guns, which we set up and we have done in here, which is there. We set that up to begin with. Go back. In each of those instances, we're referring to that component of the emissions, and we're going to set it active whenever we are true. So all being well, we're getting no dodgy errors. We're not getting anything like that. So theoretically, when we press play now, the guns will not fire until we press space. And they are not firing. So what have we done wrong? Okay, what I'd done is when I put that positive thing, I think I must have put it as a capital or something, and it didn't recognise it, and it just spat it out. So it was just in the setting up there. I didn't press space, and now everything else was fine. It just made a holics of that, and now so here we go. Every time you press space, we have the groovy lasers coming out. So that's that up and running. Now we need to get it. Oops. Now we need to get it so that we can start destroying some of these houses. Now, in my world, you can see I have lots and lots and lots of houses. So we don't want to be applying work to all of these individually, and it's a bit of a pain the way that I've set it up. I was just in it so that it looked good. So here's how we're actually going to do it. First, we have to do there's one sort of slight alteration we do need to make. On the explosion particle, I've just realised that it was a section we missed. At the bottom of the beginning part, where it says stop action, you need to click destroy. Okay, that's really important, because otherwise what will happen is whenever a house is destroyed and explodes, the explosion will exist, and then we'll just sit in this timeline here forever. So if you end up with lots and lots of houses, for every house you destroy, you're just going to be replacing it with a particle system, and they will just mount up, which is not too bad in a small little demo like this, but going forward, that's something you would need to remember to do, just so that when the particle system is finished, it will get rid of here. So this is how we're going to do this. First of all, I'm just going to get rid of all of these houses. Oops, he says convincingly. Is it shift? There we go. So you can do that just by clicking one, pressing shift, and then clicking again. And we're just going to delete all of them out of the scene. So that just leaves us with one. And this house here, we're going to rename as Nathan's dad's house. Because Nathan's dad has lots of houses. So, and what we're going to do here, we're just going to, in our main assets, we're going to create a prefab of this. So this is now our own unique object. And then anything we do to this now will be able to apply to this prefab. Then everyone we bring in after this point will be exactly the same as that. So on Nathan's house, what else do we need to do? First of all, we also need to find that explosion as well, which is over here somewhere, right, randomly just existing. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to prefab that as well. Now, if you don't know what prefabs are, you're probably going to need to learn. But basically, a prefab is kind of, well, it's a prefabricated game object. Basically, it's a game object that stores all of its data and everything in a solid thing and can then be reproduced over and over again. So in this case, it's going to be a house and an explosion. So every time you call the explosion as a game object, it will be exactly the same, basically. Whereas, obviously, if you want to create different instances, you can create different prefabs. For this, you know, when you've only got like little basic information, it's not a big deal. But when you're going to have lots and lots of different things, you know, you can imagine that, you know, certain things will have like animators and all sorts of stuff on them, so they get a lot more complicated. So anyway, we prefab that. So let's go to Nathan's dad's house. Right. So first thing we need to do, we need to create a box collider, so that way it knows if it's, oh hang on, no, it's just a collider. We just go collider, where are we? Box collider, there we go, that'll do, box collider. So it was box collider, and there we go, and you can see that that puts a nice little box around the building, taking up that space. And it just doesn't, not trigger, don't make it a trigger, don't do anything else like that, just have it as a box collider on there. So that means that now we can then sort of, it will then know when it's been touched. Anyway, right. So next we need to create a script so it knows what to do when it is being touched. So we can just, actually, let's get rid of that. Quickest way to add a script. Oh, why is it not? Add a new script. I'm going to call this, I don't know, house. So there we go. So we've created a new script called house. Right, now what are we going to put in this script? So here we go. So first job, we need to serialize a field. Sorry about that. I was just going and checking my notes there for a second. I got marginally lost as to where I need to do something. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to serialize a field in here as we did before, and this will give us a usable thing. Now why is this not filling in? Okay. Allies. Okay, sometimes, every so often, this won't serialize field. I think what we're just going to do to save me from making errors, we're actually just going to copy one over. There we go. And this is going to be a game object. It's not going to be, it is going to be a game object, but it's not going to be an array. And we're just going to call this def fx. Okay. So this will basically be a thing that it's going to add to the prefab here. We don't need to do anything on start, so we can get rid of that. This is just, I believe, just going to be an update, so it knows to check it every so often, or you know, every tick of the game. It knows to check to whether or not it's. In fact, actually, I don't think we do. We can just create. Yeah, I think we can probably just create this without. I don't think it needs to check it every single thing. So hopefully, if we save this here, that should then create a game object here for death effects. Come on. Alright, okay, so sometimes it plays games with you, which is quite annoying. We're just going to close that down. And then we're going to reopen it up. There you go. Did you see it? Did it? So it compiled it then as it was closing it down. Every so often, it just has like a little bit of a flip between between Visual Studios and Unity, and sometimes you just have to close Visual Studios down. So let's go back to this. There we go. So we now have a game object of type 0. It doesn't know what it is, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the explosion in there. So we now know whenever we call death effects in the system, it is referring to that explosion, which is there. So from there on, it's super quick and easy to do. We literally just need to create a very short script, which is void, okay, on particle collision. So this means, there we go, get aim Josh. Oh, so it even fills all of that lot in for you. So, and we've got the game object. What we need to do is we need to call game object, which is death FX. It should just be that death FX, shouldn't it? Game object. Does it like that? No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, we'll just see if this works. So we're going to instantiate death FX. And we're going to so we're just going to call the thing, and we're going to call it transform dot position. Now that is the transform position is of where we are, basically where the building is, and then we're also going to do what's called a quaternion identity. And what that basically means is that's funny, clever math talk for don't rotate it, just it's standard rotation, just use that. And we're going to destroy the actual main object. So I'll talk you through this, right? Game object. There we go. Destroy game object. Boom. Right, why is it not liking that? Let's just have a look. What are we got a problem here? That's why. Right, okay. Because we're calling it twice. Sorry, just bear with me. So there we go. So it will now know what it's doing. Sorry, I worked out what I've messed up there. We don't need to do the game object thing. We can just instantiate that. So theoretically, that should actually just work. All being well. Sorry, I know I don't sound particularly confident. But let's just see what happens when we bring that in. Oh, sorry. Right, okay, so first of all, let's where is Nathan's dad's house? Shout out if you see it. There it is. Alright, okay, I'm gonna have to do a double pass. So let's just go and give it a full. Oh, and I missed. Right, okay, let's try again. Oh, Nathan's dad's house is very hard to hit. That's probably why he's got so many of them. Right, okay, so we're going to go out into the wilderness, and we're going to try and do a UE, and hopefully we should be able to hit it from there. Come on. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? There's something that's so simple. Right, come here. Right, okay, so we're just going to try and get really far out now, so that way, in fact, actually, yeah, okay, so we should get it this time, and I'm totally convinced that this is just going to work, and it is not. Why is that not working? That is not working at all. Alright, I think I know why. Do I know why? Yes, that's why, because I don't think we'll have applied it to there, so let's apply it to the prefab. Let's try again. Okay, where's Nathan's dad's house? In fact, actually, did I even save that script? Could that possibly why? Oh. We have an error. What was it not like? Camera rendering doesn't like one of the camera renderings. Okay, that's odd. I'm assuming that's just a. I don't really know what caused that because I've not touched the camera. We've not done anything to do with the camera rendering either. Where's Nathan's dad's house? I should have put more of them. There it is, right. Okay, let's try again. So if I go around this mountain like that, I should be on, there it is. And that is just not working at all. Right, okay, bear with me. I'll find out why. Right, so I've worked that out. Okay, so yeah, there is nothing wrong with this code whatsoever. This code is all perfectly fine. That is exactly how you would do it. Instantiate death effects, everything was fine in there. However, it helps if you turn collisions on your particle system in the first place. I could have sworn we did that when we actually set up the particle systems to begin with, but apparently not. So you need to put that collision, you need to click collision there, and then you need to convert that into world. Okay, because it will start on planes, but you can select world, and then what you need to do is on the kill speed, you need to increase that to 1,000. Okay, and that'll stop your bullets, your bullets from bouncing around. Okay, leave it with collide with everything, and you also need to say send collision messages. And now that does work. That should work. So yeah, basically, I spent ages. I'd asked it to get the console to print out if it was making contact with the house, and it was just saying no, it wasn't. And I was like, well, why is it not making contact? It clearly is. And I was like, what is going on? And I went through, and I went through all my notes and everything. And I'm like, hey, there we go. That's why, because the particle system wasn't set to collision. So there we go. That's that. Now basically I'm just having a look at that explosion that we created, and I think I'm going to make that significantly better. Right, so to make it larger, what we're going to do is we're going to increase that so that gets bigger. There we go. So we increase the start speed so that way it can fire out faster, and then we're going to increase its size as well so that way it puts out bigger particles. There we go. Maybe a little smaller, I think. Maybe a little bit smaller, maybe about 25. Bang. Yeah, okay. That should look quite good next to the house. So let's just play that. Boom. Yeah, that's going to be noticeable. Okay, so what we then do, once we've played around with that, we're going to apply that to the... I'm going to apply that to the mod... I forgot what it's called now. The prefab. I'm just going to delete that one. Oh. No, okay, we're just going to delete that one off the thing. And now when we put the explosion back in, yeah, you see it's much bigger now. So, yep, so there we go. Right, anyway, so now we're just going to put lots and lots of Nathan's houses all over the environment just because we can. Because Nathan's dad's got loads of houses. So all being well, these should start to explode. There we go. Haha, Nathan's dad's house is blowing up. Haha, how many houses do you have now, Nathan? How many houses does your dad have now? Oh, yeah, I mean, okay. I might have crashed a little bit there, but, the sentiment was there. There we go. Haha. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. It's not quite as slick as I'd hoped the tutorial would go by. I'm still fairly new with Unity, but that's got that working. We've got particle effects. We've got a trigger. You can always play around with the particle effects. You've seen that it's just a case of twiddling knobs and dials and the such, and you can get different effects. So I would potentially maybe put more bullets or make them faster and bigger, so that way it makes it more likely that you hit, and and that kind of stuff. I think the explosions look okay, and you can add sound effects and all sorts of stuff as well. There's plenty of tutorials on there, but so there you go. Someone asked, one of my subscribers asked how to do it, and there you go, that's how you do it. Eventually I got there. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Take it easy. I will see you all, oh god. I'll see you all very soon. Laters. It's actually quite hard to shoot Nathan's dad's house. Oh, bloody hell. I think this is why we invented missile lock.